What's going on, y'all? This is Czar. So I hope everybody took advantage of the Cinco de Mayo one-day sale that Presonus had, where they had all of their Studio One add-ons on sale for $5, as well as Studio One artists for $5. I know it was incredibly popular, so it looks like we've got a lot of new Studio One artist users. So I want to do a video showing two things that really helped speed up my workflow in Studio One. The first one is learning the key commands. So if we go under keyboard shortcuts, there's a whole list of keyboard shortcuts here. Now, as you notice, not everything has a shortcut next to it. And what I found out was that some of my favorite shortcuts from Pro Tools that I used to use a lot, Studio One can do it. There just wasn't a key command by default. So what I recommend is everyone look through these keyboard shortcuts. You don't have to scroll through the whole list because there's a lot of them, but through the search, you can search terms like zoom, and that'll filter all the keyboard shortcuts that have zoom in them. So one of my favorites that I use that did not have a key command set by default is the move to cursor. Not the move to cursor, sorry. The move, search cursor. There it is. Locate mouse cursor. So what that does is wherever I have my mouse, and I've set it to command space. Now, if you're using a Mac, command space automatically launches Spotlight, so you'll have to go in your preferences on your Mac and disable Spotlight. But command and space will move my locate to wherever the mouse pointer is. It's really convenient and really easy way for me to jump around my session. Back into the shortcuts. Another one, it's one of my favorites in Pro Tools, is move range up and move range down. So you can see there's nothing set for them, so I'm going to assign a shortcut for it really quick. And once you enter in the key that you want, you press assign and then apply at the bottom. And now what that shortcut will allow me to do, if I select a range, I can move that range up and down. And lastly, with the shortcuts, because I know a lot of people, I say maybe coming over from another DAW, messing around with Studio One artists. If you look here at the bottom, the keyboard mapping scheme, you see mine says Studio One modified. If I look into the drop down, you can change your key commands to match Pro Tools, Logic, Cubase. I don't know what the Studio One alternative is, and just the default Studio One. Now, because I've modified some of the key commands, mine says Studio One modified. Coming over from Pro Tools, I tried to use the Pro Tools mapping scheme. It just didn't feel right. So I decided to switch it to Studio One and learn it the way that Presonus intended it to be. And, from there I started modifying some of the key commands to match what I wanted to do. Popular one I use a lot that I modified, we search for split. Split range was not, I think it was Option Command X by default. I didn't like having to hit 3 keys for that key command, so I changed it to just Option X. And what that is, that's one that I use all the time when editing. So we select a range here. Option X will split the range. Okay, now let's move on to the second thing that really helped increase my workflow is the toolbox up here at the top. Learning to quickly navigate those. So the first thing I would do here is this info view. If you turn that on, anything you hover over now, you see below it, it'll show what you can do with it. So if you're new to Studio One, that helps a lot. The first one is the arrow tool, which is the one you're going to be on most of the time. Very simple. It just allows you to select your event, and also you'll notice that if I select a range, over the event with the arrow tool, it doesn't select the range, it just selects the events inside that range. So if you hold Command, that'll switch to the range tool, which allows you to select over your grid over a range. Now there's shortcuts to get to these tools, and it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 on your keyboard. So 1 is the arrow tool, 2 will switch you to the range tool. When you're on the range tool, holding Command will take you back to the arrow tool. Third is cut, which I use this all the time. With cut, let's say for example this blank space here, I hit 3 to cut, and then if I move to 4, that'll switch to the erase tool and I can erase. So my hand stays, a lot of times when I'm editing, my hand stays up on those number keys at the top, and cut, 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 4 to go to the erase tool and erase. The next one is 5, which is the drawing tool. Now this is for drawing automation. Now with the arrow tool, you can select your points in the automation. When you go to 5, now you have, and the more you hit 5, it'll cycle through. As you see, I'm cycling through the different drawing tools. So, for example, your square. We've got let's see. So you can see, and the transform one, which is this square one, that's a really cool one. You can look up some other videos for using the transform tool, but it lets you really do some crazy things and some crazy curves with automation. The next one is the mute tool, which is 6, and all that does is mute on. Click it again to mute off. I find this the best way to mute events, because if you look under the key commands, but yet if we right click and look under event, you see we have an option to mute events, but there's a totally separate command that you can set to unmute events. I find that kind of backwards. I'd rather just use the same key command to mute to unmute. Well, you can do that with the mute tool by hitting 6 on your keyboard. Just toggles it on and off. So that's the best way I find to mute an event. 7 is the audio bend tool. Audio bend is something exclusive to Studio One, which allows you to, it's pretty more like a time compression tool that you can use. I won't go into that right now, but that's what the 7 is. The last one is 8, which is the listen tool. Now, with the listen tool is a quick way to solo something. So just find a part in an event here.
Treating my girl like a queen.
So it's just a quick way to solo any event or part event that you have. You can also loop with this tool really quickly. So for example, let's just take this line here. So if we hold shift while we're playing this, it's going to loop this event.
Already 3 years probation, 12 years for the first violation.
Just another example here.
Baby, dry your eyes.
So that is 8, that's the listen tool. So shift lets you loop it. If you don't hold shift, it'll just play it and just keep going. So
Eyes.
longer I hold it, it just keeps going. So there you go. That's 2 ways that I use to really increase the speed of my workflow in Studio One. Once you get those toolboxes, the tools in the toolbox down by the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just editing that way, Studio One editing becomes really quick, really easy, and really effective. All right, catch y'all next time.